Well, happy Wednesday to you. I'm late and sorry about that. You love it when technology works, and when it doesn't, you need to call for help. And sometimes the line to get help is long by pressing one all the time. But we got the issue solved, so we're good to go. So thanks for joining me at 10 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. We're going to be in Hebrews chapter 13 as we continue our study of well known prayers in the Bible. So I'm going to give you a minute to find Hebrews chapter 13. We're going to be in verses 20 and 21. As you turn there, I want to remind us of our four things that we're looking and leaning into when we do prayer. Prayer is us talking to God. We believe the Bible is God talking to us. Prayer does not inform God about the needs. We believe that God is sovereign and He knows all. When we pray, we're expressing trust in God's provision that we are bringing it to Him and He will take care of it the way that He sees fit. Prayer is more than a wish, Billy Graham says. He says it's the voice of faith directed to God. And then finally, Billy Graham says prayer should not be merely an act, but it should be an attitude of life. And that is the hope of this study, that prayer will be shifted from just being an act to being an attitude, not just something that we do, but something that we are, something that we continue to do in an attitude each and every day, not just when good things or bad things happen. Hopefully, by now, you're in Hebrews chapter 13. I'm going to set the context for you. I'm not going to dive specifically into word for word, but I want to give you the big picture, and then hopefully that will motivate you to go to Hebrews 13 and read those couple of verses we're going to talk about. The author of Hebrews, we really don't know who it is. Most scholars, if you really make them say someone, they're going to say Paul, but we're not exactly sure if it is Paul, so we're just going to refer to the author of Hebrews as the author of Hebrews. He's finishing his letter to the Hebrews, and this is a closing prayer. If you're in the church world, this could be a benediction, a final thought. I see it as a prayer of blessing, and I also see it as a prayer of motivation. So I hope that you receive this as a closing prayer, a prayer of blessing, a prayer of benediction, and then this will motivate you, and that's going to be our challenge here in about 5 minutes or so. So the author writes, he says, God is the God of peace. Well, what is peace? Peace is the absence of conflict, not in the idea of world peace, but a lack of conflict between us and God because of the life, death, and resurrection. And then the author goes in and talks about the resurrection of Christ, that God raised Jesus from the dead. It's another proof that Jesus is raised, and the resurrection sets Christianity apart from all other religions. Not just for that reason, but that is a very big and important reason, that the tomb is empty. And Paul talks about it in 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians. If Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile or worthless. And so the resurrection is so important. And this is another passage that proves the resurrection of Christ did happen and the tomb is empty. Jesus is alive and He is well. He's reigning in heaven. And then as He's reigning in heaven, God through Jesus is equipping you to do God's perfect, good, and pleasing will. And God is going to give you the tools to perform the task that He wants you to do. God is not going to call you to do something and then not give you the tools to complete it. He's going to call you to it. He's going to give you that tool belt, and then He's going to help you with the tools, and that is all done through the work and the ministry of Christ as He is in heaven interceding before us. Now, this is at the end of the book of Hebrews, a letter to a group of people known as the Hebrews. And this is an encouragement to continue to mature and to grow in the faith. So many times what happens, friends, is that we get happy and we get complacent, and we need to continue to mature and grow in our faith, that we will continue to learn and grow into what Christ has called us to be, that we continue to learn from His word and continue to sand those rough edges off of us that may not look like Christ. And when we look back, we will see that it was worth it all. This journey of faith was worth it all, especially when we see Jesus as He truly is. When we grow in our faith, we continue to rely upon God for peace, and we have God help us to finish the task that He has called us to do. So our application, our question of the morning that we're going to ask and what we need to wrestle with is, what has God called you to do? What task has he given you to do? And then the task he's given you to do, are you accomplishing that task with the tools that he has provided? So many times we get called to a task and we get sidetracked or we get discouraged. And so this morning, as we look at this prayer from Hebrews chapter 13, it's a great reminder that if God has called you to it, he's brought you the tools. We need to continue to be motivated to finish the task at hand. So if I can help you in any way, I trust that you'll reach out. Hope that you have a great Wednesday, and if you are in the area at 6:30 tonight, we're going to be finishing our study on the rewards that believers will get in heaven. So if you're around the church at 6:30 and want to join us in the sanctuary, that would be a great blessing, and then you can jump into that Bible study tonight at 6:30. If not, I'll see you tomorrow morning for another prayer in the New Testament that we'll look at. Have a great Wednesday.